Hey everybody, it's John Kadlic here at Parallel Path with the latest edition of Trail Talks. Today I'm with my good friends Laura and Chris Cooke here at Thompson Park in Upper Arlington, Ohio. Chris and Laura are the co-founders of Positive Foundry. And rather than me attempt to do a description here, I'm going to turn you over to them. So maybe to get started, guys, who wants to tell me about Positive Foundry and a little bit about your background?
I guess I'm going to take that.
You take that.
Okay, you do it.
All right, so Positive Foundry, we are a corporate well-trained, oh my goodness, see, I already messed up.
That's all right, just
We
keep
are-
talking, we'll fix it.
We're a corporate training company in the well-being space. And what really started this whole thing off was a discovery that there is a lot of science and research available that isn't necessarily reaching the general population. We saw well-being trends in the United States going in the opposite direction of where we think they should be going. And we started this business with the idea of delivering this science and research proven tools and techniques to individuals inside companies to help companies perform even better. And our fundamental belief is that when individuals flourish, organizations flourish. When each of us shows up at our best, we're going to do our best work. And really, we want to help people live their best lives while helping the organization do its best work.
Well, you're sort of at the perfect time and place because this is getting a lot of attention, rightfully so. So as someone who owns a business, I think a lot about our team and their well-being and are they connected and feeling good and part of something that is bigger than themselves. And you remember me talking to you guys about the World Happiness Report when that came out, and it was kind of distressing about the trends in the US, particularly Gen Z and even women on top of that. So definitely on topic. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about the things you encounter as you start to talk to companies. What are the kinds of characteristics and what are you trying to remedy for them from a business standpoint?
You want to take that one?
Let me take that one?
Sure.
All right, so I love this question. I think what we're seeing everyone's feeling the pressures of, just business in general, right? The stress and pace of what's happening. We're seeing a lot of change within the organizations. We're seeing AI. We're seeing most companies, large corporations, are going through some sort of digital transformation. And that requires teams to collaborate more. And also requires more human skills. So skills around how do we build trust and how do we have healthy conversations? How do we have healthy conflict and dialogue? And then how do we help these people who are working, a lot of people are working hybrid or remote only. And so they're not necessarily, they're connected, but they're not connecting. And I think that's what we're seeing is that helping these teams come together as human beings and start talking to each other and learning and practicing skills that they can apply to help them show up better in life. Because we don't bring just our work life, our work self to work, we bring our whole self to work. And so how do we help people become better human beings? How do we help them become more healthier and successful and happier? By learning skills that they can talk about with each other and create this safe space for people to feel like, oh, wait a minute, my company cares about me, my manager cares about me, and we can all learn from each other about things that we can introduce practices and rituals and habits into our life that helps us show up better. I think that's what we're starting to see.
And
Laura?
maybe you could talk a little bit, there's some good research out there and science around this topic where I think before people might have been skeptical or cynical about what's going on. So I know you're on top of all that. What does the science say? Or what are your programs, what are you basing them on?
I mean, it's like fascinating when you think about mindfulness because it's been around for thousands of years, but all of a sudden it's like in newspapers and in magazines, and it's like, well, people have been practicing this for thousands of years. The only reason why people are now kind of coming around to it is because we have this science to back it up. We have this fMRI machine, which is a newer machine that will actually show you that when you practice mindfulness on a regular basis, you can grow the gray matter in your brain. Well, so now it's like, oh, it really does work, so maybe I'll try it. And so a lot of what we talk about is based on the field of positive psychology, which is a field that's younger than the internet, so it's not surprising that it's taking a while to reach everyone, but we teach skills like practice gratitude and how to build appreciation into the workplace, which improves not only people's individual well-being, but also the culture. We teach emotional intelligence, because it's a really big part of how we interact with each other. And I think for a while in corporate America, it was kind of like emotions don't belong at work. Well, really, we're emotional beings, and it's really about how do we use our emotions in a positive way, and how do we reframe our mental talk and our mind chatter, and master your stories is another skill we teach. So all of it is based on proven tools and techniques, but delivered in ways that are really sort of able to be digested by the individual person, and something that you can put into practice right then.
And so talk about, maybe back up a little, Chris, to get to her left shoulder so you're on camera better. Maybe talk about the program itself. Like, how have you found this best deployed so that you get the outcomes you deserve?
So the main product we have is called Better Yet Teams. And the reason why we love it so much is that it's led by internal champions. So we train, for example, at IGS Energy, we train hundreds of internal champions that gathered their teams together once a week to learn one concept. And the concept is delivered through a micro learning platform. It's a short 3-minute video. It gives you just a little bit of information. So you've got an expert in the room that's giving you like, okay, this is what we're learning today, and here's the tool. And then the key to the whole program is they break up and they have conversation. So we're having dialogue. Chris mentioned it earlier. It's like dialogue about being human, dialogue about your struggle and my struggle. And what's crazy is a lot of times we're struggling with the same thing, but we're just not talking about it. And so as a result of that learning moment and the dialogue, you're getting a connection that is happening among the team. We're breaking down silos, we're improving communication. And all of this is like designed to improve the person's individual well-being, but the results are going to be increased productivity and faster decision making and all of the sort of bonuses of connection.
Well, so I was going to actually, that would is a good bridge. I was curious if you could talk about this actually from 2 dimensions. So let's say I go through this program and I get the skills I need. You know, what can I expect as an individual as an outcome of all this, and as a business leader, you know, maybe answered from a slightly different dimension.
Yeah.
Sure.
You want me to go?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, from a individual perspective, we're teaching 12 skills around how do you show up better in life. So how do we build strong relationships? How do we discover what our purpose is? Like, why are we here? What are we meant to be doing? And can we connect while we're here to the work that we're doing? How do we help people learn how to manage their emotions and even recognize what emotion they're actually feeling? A lot of people are not even tuned into, wait, what is that emotion I'm feeling? And we want people to be able to experience all of the emotions, because all those emotions give us information about what's happening or the experience that we're dealing with, and then how to manage those emotions. So it's really giving people skills that they can turn into rituals or habits that help them navigate life better. And it's not, you know, when things are great, it's really easy. It's only when things are really tough, when we have stress, when we have dealing with a loved one who's passed away, or we're dealing with, you know, a setback at work, or we're dealing with a personal setback with a health challenge, or whatever it might be. Those when we need to call upon those skills, and if we haven't been practicing them or even learned them, then it's really hard for us to navigate life and show up in the way that we want to more often. And I think that that's what we're seeing, improved well-being overall for the individual. And then as a leader, it's really giving me the ability to connect deeper with my team, be able to recognize and tap into what's going on with my team, and be able to help them navigate or remove barriers or obstacles that it might be in the way. So we always say you got to lead yourself first. You can only lead others as far as you can lead yourself. And so everyone's probably heard that term, but it's so true. And so we're giving people an opportunity to learn and practice skills each and every week that helps them be better humans, but then also helps them be a better leader for their teams, and also just in their life, and show up better at home, show up better for their friends and their family. I think that's really...
So in a lot of ways, you're equipping them with tools and techniques that they might not otherwise know how to deal with their circumstances.
Yeah.
So having like a program that's got some structure to it says, in this moment in time, I now know skill X or Y or Z. I'm better able to face the opportunity in front of me or deal with the stress I'm encountering or whatever. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the interesting thing is that we all have a lot of different circumstances in our lives, but within every circumstance, there's a choice that we have. No matter what the circumstance is, we always have a choice. And so really the program's designed to give people lots of opportunity to see new choices for how they approach just about any situation, whether it's our mental mind chatter, whether it's relating to someone else, whether it's a challenge at work, a setback they need to bounce back from. We're giving them just opportunities to see new choices based on science and research that is proven. The other thing that I would say is that an expectation coming out of the program is not only that you have increased individual well-being, but also that the team has a deeper understanding of the importance of other people. And there's a level of empathy that is developed that basically just strengthens those team relationships. And the expectation would be that everyone would be lifted as individuals are lifted, the whole team is lifted, and they have a new sort of view of what they want their team to look like. One of the things that happened when we ran surveys of one of our companies that we did recently, asking them what was their biggest takeaway from the program, their biggest takeaway was, my company cares about me. Which is, to me, like, yes.
Yeah.
As soon as you know your company cares about you, you're going to be willing to run through walls and help your company even more. And at the same time, we know that we're giving them tools and techniques that will improve their individual life and well-being.
And it sounds like common language too.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
all sort of talking in the same way. To compare notes as you get a bug out of your nose, Chris. That'd be a good blooper.
I think that was a bee.
That's good.
Almost stung my
excellent.
nose. Ouch.
That's excellent.
I'll tell you another. So I just want to tell you another one of our. So Better Yet Teams is sort of our main product, and we love it because it has everything to do with the company deploying it to their teams. We also have a program called Better Yet Leaders, where we take each leader in a deep dive workshop into the material that we're covering in that Teams program. And what we found in those leader workshops are some major aha moments that come out of it. And in particular, one of the skills we teach is embrace forgiveness. And I think it's interesting to think about forgiveness at work and, does it really belong at work? We talk about that. Well, there's a lot of resentment that exists in the workplace. And resentment gets in the way of productivity and healthy relationships and all the good things that can be happening. And we have multiple stories of that workshop in particular being these aha moments for leaders that then sort of let go of whatever it is they're holding on to, which then just propels everybody forward in a much more positive direction.
It's interesting you should say that, because for me, my observation is that there's just like more built-in mistrust between employers and employees. And clearly there's plenty of anecdotes about bad actors on both sides. So,
Yeah.
and those stories tend to find their way to the world a little bit more. But I could see one of the benefits by the common language going through these exercises together. Not only they care about me, but you're kind of letting your guard down.
Absolutely.
And there's more trust that gets naturally built. There's sort of a transparency that emerges, because it's just crazy to me. It's like I'm always fighting the man because they not treat me right. And then companies are trying to do the right thing in many cases, but not getting the credit because everyone's got their gloves up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you actually can't build trust unless you have a level of vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
It's required.
Right.
Someone has to take a risk
mandatory.
in order to build that trust. And what this program does is actually provides lots of opportunities for people to dip their toe into, oh, maybe I'll share that in my conversation. Maybe I'll show a little bit more of myself. And in doing that, trust is exactly what's being formed among that team. Yeah. I love that.
I just want to,
Go ahead.
because I think this is important. What we're seeing, and just in general in terms of organizations, is that they're trying to throw training at their employees in like an online version of training. Here's the training, you have to take this training. Or if you want training for personal skills or emotional intelligence skills, here's an online course, go take that. Well, 99% of people are never going to go through online training, ever, ever, ever. It's only that 1% of those super learners who love learning are going to do it. And so what we found is about the magic of the work that we're doing is we're helping organizations operationalize the way that they build culture, build healthy teams, and then help people become better people.
In 20 minutes a week.
Yeah, and in short sessions. And so it allows people, now you create this team learning environment. And there's a lot of research that shows that team learning is more powerful than trying to do learning on your own. It's that team coming together, watching a short video, having conversations, learning and practicing a skill. Everything we're teaching is really easy to understand. Someone said to us like, oh my God, everything you guys teach is like, we all know this stuff, but we just don't practice it. And so what we're doing is helping people practice it in short bites.
In a shared experience.
In a shared experience.
Which I could tell would make a difference.
Yeah.
Versus isolated learning. God knows everything else is so isolated these days. To have a shared experience probably makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when we see companies going through a lot of growth, when we see companies going through acquisitions, they don't have a way to bring all of that together, bring their culture together, particularly when you're in a remote environment or hybrid environment. What are the shared behaviors that the company wants to reinforce? What are the values they want to reinforce? What we do is help bring all of that together in a program that is very simple and easy for managers, because managers don't have a lot of time. They don't want to spend time like, what am I going to do with my team this week?
Yeah.
We give it like step-by-step, paint-by-numbers approach. In 20 minutes, you can have an amazing connection with your team, not talking about business, but talking about being a human being and giving them something they can learn and practice that we can all practice and learn together.
So and walk away with an action.
Yeah. So that's what's been super fun, is to see the company's light bulb go off and be like, oh, wait a minute, you mean I don't have to think about what I'm going to do with my team this week? And this program is sustainable. It's a year-long program that can be created. It can be built into our natural weekly cadence of team session. That's awesome.
That's really great. So maybe just for a minute, talk to me about, so businesses, you probably encounter this every day, are like, hey, I want to do the right thing for my team, but at the same time, I want to know this thing is going to generate real outcomes for me.
Yeah.
Do you have any like stats or any sort of business outcomes beyond the obvious that you would think would naturally come from something like this?
Well, so we have clients that have measured turnover and engagement and proven that this program has a direct correlation to that, or they've seen that change in the time that we've worked with them. But we do a pre-survey and a post-survey. So we measure individual well-being on an anonymous basis before they start the program, and then we measure it at the end. And what we're seeing is, in all of our surveys, it's over 80% have experienced an increase in their own personal well-being, said by them. And then we're also seeing it in terms of the measures that we're asking. So we ask about whether or not they have positive emotions in their life, whether or not they feel like they have strong relationships, and we're seeing it in those scores as well.
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
80%.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we're seeing is teams are feeling closer to each other and more connection with each other. The leaders are growing because the leaders are now having a leadership opportunity that they can step into to grow as a leader by leading the facilitation of these programs, of these workshops, programs. Let me say that again.
You can. How about you answer that again?
Let me answer that again.
Let's pretend that didn't happen.
The leaders who are championing the program, they're growing because it's a development opportunity for them.
Right.
And so that has been a huge bonus. And then the other thing is that we've seen cases where they've done an acquisition, and because of the program, they had zero attrition from the employees of the acquisition 1 year after going through our program. And they attributed a lot of that success to the people meeting weekly, having conversations, connecting, growing, and that feeling of my company cares about me. So you're seeing it in the results of like, we're not having attrition and engagement scores. So we've had one of our clients where everyone's engagement scores during COVID were tanking. Their engagement scores stayed exactly where they were before. And they were like, that is the only reason it happened is because of your program. Because people were saying, hey, look, this program saved my life during COVID. It helped me deal with a really difficult time with losing people in my family members. Helped me deal with my mental health. All of these things that were results that you would never sort of expect in terms of real humans experiencing real trauma or real setbacks.
Right.
And this program gave them skills to navigate that in a way that helped them get through it. And
I could see companies, maybe this is already happening, but like promoting these outcomes to prospective employees.
Yeah.
And even to customers. Like, we have a highly engaged workforce that's very focused on their own well-being. We've got programs in place to reinforce that. We're seeing tangible results. That could be a source of differentiation.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
thinking about a couple companies to go work for. Maybe that one will tip me in the balance.
Yeah, and we've been written up in several of our clients' ESG reports as being a key element of their ESG efforts.
Yeah,
so,
and their people, it's part of their people strategy.
Yeah.
It was funny, actually. We were just at a workshop this past week where we often talk about, employee engagement in the U.S., right? There's only 33% of Americans are engaged at work. I'm sure you've heard that statistic from Gallup. 16% are actually working against the organization's purpose, and then the rest of them are just kind of there, right? So we spend the majority of our hours working. So this engagement score, and they had just come from a strategic planning session, and we were talking about our program, and they said, we have people in our strategic plan as a really important element of our strategic plan, but we never once talked about how are we going to improve their engagement and how are we going to bring them along in this process. And that's where it's like, from our standpoint, I'd like to, when I talk about Positive Foundry, sometimes I get people saying, like, are you a nonprofit? Because really, we're looking at this from a standpoint of, like, we want to impact the world by helping people understand how to improve their personal well-being. But the side benefit is the organization saying, and it'll drive engagement because we can get people talking to each other and open up that opportunity to really become more engaged. Well, great. It's a win-win.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love hearing those anecdotes.
Yeah, and we had another client, or not even a client, a prospect, who had just spent, I don't know, $1 million on redoing their physical environment of their company, and did all this great environmental branding, fantastic, working to create this environment that represented who they really were. But they didn't have a way to connect that to their employees or train their employees and create moments that allow their employees to feel that environment, that physical environment, at the team level, at the person level.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, wait a minute, this is going to help us connect the type of culture we're trying to create, all the new environmental branding that we've just done, the values clarification exercises that we've done, the behaviors that we want. This program cuts across all of those things and helps us operationalize this in a way that we could never possibly do ourselves. And that's what's been so fun, is to see people
in 20 minutes a week.
Yeah, 20 minutes a week.
It's not.
Well, and I think that's important, is especially short attention span, lifestyles. People are busy.
Yeah.
And I think there is a sense that this is super hard.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a huge amount of time. And you've created these sort of bite-sized environments to take it in a way that feels digestible and participatory and engages the leadership.
Yeah.
But I hear you on the physical things. A lot of people think about the physical manifestation of the brand, but they forget about the people side of it.
Right.
It's like that probably should go first.
Yeah.
And then you have this cool physical wraparound to reinforce your people policies or your brand expression. But if you just sleep over that, it's sort of like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, that only lasts for a few seconds when you walk into the door, right?
Super cool, but like,
where's the rest of it?
Yeah.
And so it sets up an expectation, but then the expectation may not be met in reality in terms of how you're interacting with your teams and your people to create the culture you're trying to create.
All right. Well, this has been a fun time. I'd like to sort of bring it home a bit and ask you my closing question, which is, what's one thing each of you are doing for your own personal health and wellness? Maybe Laura, you start.
So I'm in this business because I need to learn all of these skills. So I will tell you that from a mental wellness perspective, I'm trying to walk away from every workshop, every interaction that I have with a client with something that I can also take away from that. So there's that piece. On the physical wellness side, I have a Peloton, and I have recently discovered the Pilates classes, and I have zero core muscles. So that's been my focus as of late.
That's good. How about you, Chris?
I mean, I am also, I love working out. That's sort of my go-to, but the skill that I've been practicing the most and the biggest takeaway and the biggest growth that I've had is definitely meditation and building a meditation practice. And it's been several years now of doing that. And if my goal is to get 10 minutes a day, so if I can get 10 minutes a day, that's awesome. If I can get 20 to 30 minutes, that's even better. But usually my go-to is 10 minutes a day. And what I found is that it allows me to be present more often, but not only just be present, but catch myself when I'm not present. To be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not engaged or I'm not present. So I think that's the biggest one that's created the most benefit for me, and also helping with my emotional regulation, which I think is very, very hard when you have 4 daughters like we do, and working with your spouse.
It's always amazing to me.
Meditation is the best.
Well, this has been fun. I appreciate you guys joining me for that.
What's your well-being thing you're working on aside from walking 20,000 steps?
I'm getting my steps in this year with my trail talks, and I like some time by myself in addition to time amongst others. I draw energy from other people, but I also need to balance that out with some alone time. So when I run or when I walk or I take my dog out or something, it's more in service to that. It's like a mental cleaning of the house.
Yeah.
And then I have my other physical activities, which are for other reasons. So
Yeah. Well,
balance.
before we close, though, John.
That's right.
Before we close,
Yes.
I do want to say that John and Laura and I, we all started our business around the same time when he launched Parallel back in 2018.
Yeah.
And so it's been so fun to watch you and your team grow and evolve, go through the rebranding, and the work that you're doing is so important on helping companies in this space to be successful. And so I love that we've been able to sort of be on parallel paths, so to speak, right?
Yeah, we have.
To witness this journey that you guys have been going on to do this important work to help companies, create better outcomes within the world. So.
Well, we have a lot of shared visions. I mean, we want to work with companies that are trying to do something good in the world and support them on that journey, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And you guys are no different. You're just coming at it from a slightly different angle.
That's exactly right.
So it's nice to have that sort of shared ambition.
Yeah.
After all these years of knowing each other. So.
Yeah.
Well, appreciated the time.
Oh my
my
God.
first 2-person trail talk ever. So I'm breaking new records, setting new trends, whatever the case may be. But thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate the time, and it was good to see all you guys again. We'll see you out on the trail again sometime soon. Take care, everybody.